quickly looking to help out. Here comes quickly. Get it's a good one. Back to Booker. Booker on the drive. Booker puts up a three. Oh, he puts it in with one.
Yes, the Phoenix Suns are on a roll now, and that is really in due part because of one player and one player only, and that is Devin Booker. The season started out kind of rough for the Phoenix Suns, where they started out 4-6 and had considerable amounts of difficulty in trying to make a cohesive team after acquiring Bradley Beal from the offseason trade. Now, the issue with this trade is that, well, one, they don't really have that many people left on the roster that could really hold their own weight without either Kevin Durant or Devin Booker on the team. But Devin Booker, who has been greatly maligned for his play and not being a playmaker, but also as many offseason's workouts have shown that he does not like double teams. It's been kind of like a meme for the last couple of years for him. And so one of the things that a lot of NBA fans were basically wondering is that how is this team going to fit with Bradley Beal joining the team? Now, Bradley Beal is a great point guard. However, he's not really the point guard that runs the show. He's more like a shooting guard. And then when you have Devin Booker, who's also pretty much the primary shooting guard, a person who's not really known for his playmaking, and then you also have Kevin Durant, who's not really known for his playmaking, you start to wonder, how is this ball even going to pass from one teammate to the other? It's going to have to take a lot of sacrifice from one player in order for all the other players to really get going. And that sacrifice came from really nobody in particular, because Devin Booker, who we've all expected to just pretty much play his own similar game where he would just be the person to score whenever need be, is taking reins of being a point guard without actually having much of a dip in his offensive efficiency. He is now running the point and literally diming teammates that he's never really been known to do. And so when he's doing this, we're seeing basically a resurgence of the Phoenix Suns, who started out the year really, really rough. Now, Bradley Beal has only played one game, but he's been on the sidelines with a back injury, and it really is not looking good. And you could probably chalk this up to just bad luck for Kevin Durant, because ever since Kevin Durant won those 2 rings in Golden State, things have really not been very good for him. However, if there's any type of shining moment from Kevin Durant's post-Golden State years, is that he's found somebody to be his successor or to take the load off on both offense and defense. Now, LeBron James, who many fans like to compare to Kevin Durant in terms of trying to find a young person, has Anthony Davis, who is very inconsistent. But Devin Booker is by far the best 1-2 punch that you could have for a star like Kevin Durant, because Devin Booker can just completely take over games. Usually, like in last year's playoffs when they were going against the Denver Nuggets, it was coming in the form of shooting. But now this year, he's passing the ball. He's getting people open. He's diming people on the 3 for a splash. Now, like I said before, this is really unexpected because we never really thought of Devin Booker like this, right? He's always been the person who's just been the scorer. And this is one of the things that a lot of people looked at him to say, like, you have never been a part of winning basketball until Kevin Durant and, more importantly, CP3 joined the team. And so what can you do to actually give your team a winning chance for a title? And, scoring is always good, but scoring can only get you so far. Are you great on defense? How are you going to make sure your teammates get better and get open? Because one thing that we have seen for a lot of other teams, and I'll make a video on the Chicago Bulls because of how tragic that offense is, but you'll see that when teammates who aren't the stars don't get the ball, it's really hard for them to stay consistent. But right now, Devin Booker, who has never really been known for being a playmaker, has taken that mantle and said, okay, cool. If we're going to win games, especially with Bradley Beal, hopefully coming sometime during the season, probably around the 40-game mark is when he'll be, fully healthy, there's going to have to be some type of motion with the basketball. We don't have the pieces that we had last year, and so I am going to have to be the person to make everything work and make everything facilitate in order for the team to win. Because we have seen, just like in Brooklyn, where you can have 3 primary ball handlers, but if there's no real, ball movement, there's really nothing there. And so right now, the Phoenix Suns is in really good position in winning their last 7 games and winning them in decisive fashion with many 30-point games, many 40-point games, not only from Kevin Durant, as Kevin Durant sat out in the last game against the New York Knicks, but also from Devin Booker and also getting other teammates involved like Eric Gordon, who's, in my opinion, the dark horse. There's a few players in the NBA that I think are severely underrated, at least by the general fans' perspective, where they can get themselves some buckets. Before, it was Seth Curry, because I believe Seth Curry is one of the best shooters off ball, very similar to JJ Redick. Norman Powell is one of those, and also Eric Gordon is one of those too. And so having those type of players on your team that you can just rely on to get a bucket that is not Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, or Kevin Durant is very important. But in order for them to even be in rhythm, you have to pass the ball to them. You have to make sure that they get their touches. And right now, the Phoenix Suns, who we would expect them to really struggle at least until this point of the season, has kind of clicked. And when we have Bradley Beal back, we're going to see if that messes things up and they have to click again. But they click. They're clicking right now. And there's only 2 other teams, in my opinion, that are a legitimate threat to the Phoenix Suns, and that is the Denver Nuggets with Jokic, as we saw that they just beat the Clippers, and the Clippers have been a massive failure. Expect a video on that. But also the Minnesota Timberwolves, who unfortunately had an injury to their main star, Anthony Edwards, where he went up for a dunk and guy was taking a charge and just did not work out. However, their offensive potency is one of the things that's going to get them very far in the playoffs. Because defense-wise, you have Frank Vogel, who is a defensive mastermind. He's not necessarily known for his offense, but when you have stars like Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, it doesn't really matter what offense you run as long as you are able to make one of them be a facilitator and get the ball around the court. So when you go against the Minnesota Timberwolves, where you are going against the #1 defense, you're going to have to figure out how are you going to make things work. The Minnesota Timberwolves are really good on the interior defense, and so you have to figure out how we're going to make Rudy Gobert suffer on the exterior and on the perimeter, and also the same with Karl-Anthony Towns. I think they're going to have the similar problems that they've always had ever since they got Rudy Gobert, but we'll see. But at the end of the day, the Phoenix Suns are the favorites right now, in my opinion, to win the championship. Of course, you still have the defending champions in the Denver Nuggets, but for right now, I don't think the Denver Nuggets is strong enough to beat the Phoenix Suns in a 7-game series. We saw them last year, and last year, listen, they had Kevin Durant and Devin Booker to quite literally will them into games, and almost in like a cheating fashion where you're just like, damn, you can't stop a single soul. It was like, you had Kevin Durant pop off for 5 straight points, and then you pass the ball to Devin Booker, and he pop off for another 5 straight points. The Denver Nuggets is trying their best to guard those only 2 players, since those were the only 2 players that were scoring. But when you are simply rolling, I mean, they had multiple 40-point games, even 40-point games within the same game, back to back to back to back, getting a couple games from the Denver Nuggets that we honestly did not expect them to really even have real competition with. But they were able to just simply will themselves in the game, like I said, just playing unbelievable, phenomenal basketball. But like I said, that's not the best winning basketball you can have with just simply scoring points. But as you can see, especially in the last year's playoffs, is that was good enough. And I mean, seriously, just think about it. Like, you're the Denver Nuggets, you're many other teams that they faced in the playoffs, and you have a whole team identity set on stopping these guys. And everything that you do, literally everything that you do that you can even think of, is not working against this tandem. I mean, you have game planned against these guys, and things just aren't just working at all. Like, they're just not working. You can't stop these guys because they are on fire, and they were on fire the whole playoffs. And I think the most important thing about this whole process is that Devin Booker, who has been maligned of not being the best facilitator or playmaker or winning basketball player, also had to play with one of the greatest basketball minds in NBA history, and that is Chris Paul. And I do believe that Chris Paul has been a great mentor towards him, and has he sponged all that knowledge into how to run Spain pick and rolls, how to get players open, be patient on double teams, and get more and more out of your guys than you would have been without CP3. And so, as well as we're seeing Devin Booker take this leap, and he is taking this leap by storm, he wouldn't have been able to take it without CP3.